some of that stuff you were doing with the real heavy distortion, what do you call that?
I guess I call it screaming just because that's what most everybody else calls it.
Yeah.
But really in like the metal world, screaming is just such a vague term because there's just, I mean, there's like 1,000 different ways to scream. Like some of it's just like the yelling that will tear up your voice. Some of it's rasping with your vocal cords and that'll rip it up. Some of it, like what I do is, if you don't know, there are two sets of vocal cords. There's these cords that you talk with, and then there's the bottom chords that are, well, hold on, let's see. It's like, those are your bottom ones. And so, like, when like 7 or 8 years ago, I found out I had those, and so I just started fooling around with them and trying to make all these weird sounding noises. And a lot of it would just come out sounding like Christian Bale as Batman. But over time, like, you learn to pair those with your normal vocal cords, and if you, by, changing up the amount of air that you rasp against the back of your throat, which would just sound like it's kind of like a loogie sound, but not really because there's no snot involved. But like that, and it's just kind of like, I know this is extremely technical and eloquent dissertation here, but just kind of combining those together, you get to a point where you're not like rasping straight on the chords and therefore killing them in the process. And so like a lot of bands you hear, like the Deftones or something, are a good example. It sounds great on recording, but you go and listen to him live, and every time he screams, he just sounds like he's killing himself, because he is. So if you want to have that kind of element to your music, you have to really kind of know what you're doing, and if it feels like you're hurting yourself, you probably are. So try to take a step back and figure out what you're doing wrong, which can be kind of difficult because there's not really like a detailed how-to guide available.
It's because it's like so inside there, and it's very difficult for people to hear above that. But what he said is perfect, because the way I sing distortion is exactly the same philosophy, which is set the pressure up in the chords normal, and then above them is that, and then together, so I know you're right. That doesn't do anything abnormal, because underneath, I know you're right. It's underneath it, and it's the same on top of it. All it does is it can tickle them at first, and the first time I started doing it, it tickled, but it didn't hurt my vocal cords, and I still maintain chord closure.
If you're doing it right, the only thing that should be hurting are your abs from creating all the pressure needed to do it, and just really force out that like or whatever you're doing. Killing me another day, you ruined my all, and blame me for your pain. Everything in life has left me slain. I'm left screaming in my wasted drive. No, you can't do this to me. So many things are destined for me. You can't do this to me, God.